Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast. You idiots, I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out why, stop it you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Boldo's tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikevalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, our pyramid would have fallen over.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Oh, Maloney is still intercept. Away goes James Maloney. They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans. Maloney is there. Healy. It's Healy has scored on his departure day. Mitch Healy gets a try. The crowd have gone absolutely bereft.
In amongst all of that, Lats had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone goes,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know half the time.
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the car going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away. Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading to the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham. They're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game. And it's away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's to go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franco, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving it a different answer?
Go for it. Enough arguments on this podcast. Come on,
you're going to throw out cans, and they're going to play out of cans.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen, field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. Cronulla have won it. 14 to 12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence. elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast. Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. I won't start singing to you for too long. We'll hit the music. Hey, baby. Welcome to the ET Stand, the Sharks fan podcast that's talking to the football. Mission Impossible looms for the Sharkies on Saturday night, a prelim final against the three-time premiers, the Penrith Panthers. We are live on the ET Stand on YouTube and Facebook right now. We're also available on audio only, on delay via Spotify, Apple Pods, iHeartRadio, YouTube Pods, Amazon Music, and a whole bunch of others. Do hit the subscribe button to help us get to 500 by the end of the season. If we can get to 500, then it unlocks a whole bunch of extra features for us on the debrief, a whole bunch of polls and questions and stuff that we can do. So please get your buddies and any other Sharks fans to subscribe to the channel and watch along as well. And do also get involved in the conversation. We want to see your comments and share your thoughts tonight. We don't claim to know all the answers, and we don't certainly think that we're right all the time. So we want to hear what you guys think of the answers as well, as we've built this brilliant community of Sharks fans up over time. We're going to keep doing it every season for a long time just yet. Tonight, we're running a competition until the end of the season. Each episode, the best commenter will be entered into a winner prize from displayware.com.au. Imagine showcasing your favorite jersey or band tee on your wall in your house, much like your good friend Boldo has got. These lightweight displays are perfect for any home or sports bar or personal space that you might have. And I switch mine up regularly between different moments. You can see I've got the Pepsi Sharks jersey on display tonight. And remember, while flattering the hosts can sometimes help you win the best comment, it's definitely not the only way. Humour, wit, sparking conversation, that all certainly helps. All right. Well, I'm not running this ship solo. And like all great Sharks teams, we need to have other legends helping me along the way. So I'll just cue down this music of the Sharks theme song. And let's bring in, first up, we've got Francis Crossley. Here we go. There he is. I'll switch to that view. Oh, no, I'll switch to, hold on, there we go. G'day, Francis. How are you, mate? Hold on, I've got to give you your intro. So former Sharks physio and principal of Southside Physio, and just all-round Sharks legend Francis Crossley joins us. And for the first time ever, isn't talking Sharks injuries on this show.
Very good to hear too.
Yeah, we're not talking moon boots or syndesmosis injuries or any of that stuff. All right, next up, we've got man of the people. We've got the man who is very connected to the Sharks social media channels. We've got Scott Latino. Oh, whoops, I'm getting the looks and feels just wrong here. I think I want to go that one. There we go. That's the one that I want. Hello, lads. You looking forward to this final series?
Oh, I'm so pumped, mate. I'm so pumped. We're a massive chance. I'm pumped. Yeah. What can I say?
They are a massive chance indeed. So that's Scott Latino. And then lastly, joining us is our resident Mr. Know-All about all things Sharks. He is that guy from the Hard Quiz. That's right, the guy from the Hard Quiz who got almost every single question correct. Matty, I have a feeling you've got some positivity in mind for us tonight.
Absolutely. Going to look at best individual finals performances. I'm excited. I'm as excited as Lats. We've got a chance. Let's go, baby.
I think we might have a bit more than a chance. And we've got a few people coming through in the comments section already. So we've got Harley's come through, the champion of the ET Stand tipping comp. Harley's got the score in already, 20-14. So get your predictions in. We will do match predictions a little bit later. And then Dean 180 has come through saying, anyone hear the Jaws theme mix in with the Here Comes the Boom song? I can't say that I have heard that. Have you heard that, lads?
I did hear a bit of a faint Here Comes the Boom song on the coverage the other night, and there was a bit of Jaws theme around there. So, yeah, it was pretty good, mate. It's good. It's better than just the Jaws music when we usually drop the ball. So,
oh, that's true. Danny 180 is also asking any thoughts on bringing back the 2016 style jerseys. I'm going to save that question for the Thursday night show. So this week we're also doing a special Thursday night show. The two lads, Franco and Kelly, who got booted off and didn't get picked. They do get picked. They got picked for their own show Thursday night. They're so good they get their own show. So Chris, If you can answer that question on jerseys for the finals, that will be great. 2.0s in the comments saying happy prelim final week. Happy prelim final week to you. And then Chad Smith is coming through. I'm actually very surprised by the amount of people who do actually think we can win on Saturday night. Well, stranger things have happened, I guess. We'd have to play out of our skin to win. Well, we're going to talk about that, Chad, tonight. What do we think we need to win? And then the Phantom Realm is here. We love when the Phantom Realm comments. Hey, I'm not normally in a position to make games, but I'm planning on going to this game. But I have a question. Is there normally a merch store for away games? Yes, I think they typically do put in a the merchandise van. And then Phantom Realm's also saying Sharks 30-0. Yeah, they do normally have a van, so should be sweet there. All right, so we've got 2 people so far have picked Sharks wins. All right, on tonight's show. Look, you can see it all there on the right-hand side of what we've got coming up. It is a very narrow focus. Can the Sharks beat the Panthers on Saturday night? We're going to talk about that. We review the past form versus the Panthers. Matty's going to take us through the past histories and all that stuff as he only can. Lats is going to give us a social media update. We're going to cover off on all things Sharks and Jets, teams live in all competitions, given that we've got 4 teams still live. And Matty is going to give us a rundown of past standout individual performances, with the panel each adding a couple to their own. First up, we have the final say on what was the Cowboys match from week 2. So your dear friend Boldo is going to give his 5 takeaways from the Cowboys match. Now, lucky me, got to talk about the Sharks for 2 hours on our debrief episode following the epic Sharks victory. So I'm going to capture that 2 hours into my thoughts into 3 minutes, which is going to start right now. So Boldo's 5 key takeaways from the Sharks versus the Cowboys week 2 finals 2024. 5 key takeaways. Number 1, the refereeing. Refereeing in finals matches, well, it's different, and we're going to need to adapt. There are fewer penalties, faster games, tire forwards, manipulations of the ruck, slightly different interpretations of the rules. And so my key takeaway is we dealt with it pretty well in week 2. Week 1, we weren't ready. And in past final series under Fitzgibbon, we haven't been. It is a different game, and we need to adapt. Annesley called it out that the finals matches were up to 10% faster. What we need to do is have a plan. I'm not sure exactly what that plan is going to be. That's why they pay 50 to big bucks. And I'm just the host of the ET Stand podcast. But hopefully, we've got a plan. Next, 4 forward bench. The structure of the bench with the 4 forwards is definitely right. In light of point 1, it's a different game. Now, I'm not the type of person to say I told you so, but I did tell you so that 4 forwards is going to work better. And I look forward to one of my dearest friends giving a rebuttal of why he thinks that's not right. But 1 extra player means greater impact from Tommy, Royce, and Siffer, all who played fewer minutes but had great impact. But if you also see one of the players who played the same number of minutes, Toby Rudolph, well, we saw his best match for weeks. We also saw far fewer errors this week from the Sharkies. 4 forwards is the way to go for this final series. Now, before you say, what happens if we have an outside back injury? If we have an injury in a match, then we're going to struggle anyway. We've got to ride our luck. We've got to gamble. The 4 forwards is the correct gamble that we should be taking. Next. The media, well, they just hate us. God, I'm just getting sick of the Sharks being bashed. Why do we have to see a thing about crowd comparisons of one team that's an hour away from the stadium and another team that lives next door? We see all the stuff from Nico. I don't remember a player who's been under as much pressure, and Lats will no doubt remind us of that in his segment next. And then why is it that the Sharks have got segments now on the news about off-contract stars, and why they're talking about Braden Trindle, wanting out and all this sort of rubbish? I don't seem to feel like the other teams cop this, but we certainly do. Next, form players. In past seasons, we've barely had 1 player in lightning form going into the final series. In the last 2 years, that's been Britt Nikorima. Now, we've got Braden Trindle, Toby Rudolph's playing brilliantly. Rami and Aniro are in great form. Their meters per game are absolutely brilliant. We've got a whole bunch of characters back to their best, which is absolutely what we need as we head into week 3 of the final series. However, we need more. If we're to beat Penrith, we need to get more out of a couple of players, and I'm going to mention them in a second, and I mean like best games that these guys have played for a long time. We've got nothing to lose against the Penrith Panthers. No one expects us to win, so let's see what we've got. And who am I talking to? Well, for starters, we got 16 minutes out of Sifa Talakai. We can get more out of him. Nico, be ready. You were B+ in that game on Friday night. Let's see what you can do. Can you go A+? Brayley, let's run it more. Katoa and Ronaldo, let's limit those errors And Kennedy, we need those flashes of brilliance and better fullback positioning. So it's a couple of asks, but we need a couple of the guys to step up. Those are my 5 key takeaways from the Sharks versus Cowboys match. Francis, how do you go? Do you agree with me, disagree on any of those, or have you got your own one to add?
No, I think you nailed it pretty well. I'm a big supporter of the forwards on the bench. I think if we're going to have a chance of beating Penrith, we've got to control them in the middle. If they get the roll on down in our territory, they're very hard to hold out. And I think we have to keep our tactics to finish the 6, hold the ball, and keep them down there in as much as we can. So I think the forwards have a big role in it. So, I'm a big supporter of that one.
Lats, your key takeaways from the Cowboys and the Sharks. Anything to add?
Mate, look, I think Fitzy's got the team really fit. I think the four forwards on the bench is huge. That's our sort of cheat code, I guess. And having Talakai coming off the bench really helps that. The refereeing, look, you could talk about the ref all day, but you've got to make your own luck. We saw 2 very different refereed games over the weekend. One, Sunday's game was an absolute penalty-a-thon where Klein let it slide for us, and I thought it was a bit more free-flowing. Just in that photo there, please, Jack, hold the ball with 2 hands. And in the media, mate, we've always been habit in the media. We used to be a week outfit at board level going back many, many, many years ago, and I just think that's just rolled on. And but we're starting to hold our own now, and I think the tide will change soon on that.
Matthew?
Thank you for throwing to me. I agree, the forwards. So historically, 2016, we saw the benefit of having a utility on the bench. I think we don't win that grand final if we don't have a utility, despite Gerard Bill not being the best player on the field. He came in and did a job when Fecky went down injured. It's a different game now. It's a lot faster. It depends what your forward balance is. I think twofold. Yes, we need the 4 forwards on the bench. It's the gamble. You've got to throw all your eggs in and go, okay, ride your luck and hopefully get a result. And 4 forwards is that. Unfortunately for Atkinson, I feel for him because I think that he would be great in the clutch moments, but 18th man it will be. But also, too, I think that the bench rotations the other night, I'm not sure if Fitzy was doing it to preserve Talakai if he's still carrying an injury, but he played minimal minutes, as did Royce Hunt, which admittedly, Hunt usually plays about 20 minutes anyway. That's what that argument about his impact and keep him versus let him go the Tigers. I'd like to see a bit more from that because we looked, the first 10 minutes, we didn't use the forwards. Second half, we certainly looked gassed at times. So we need to make sure that we balance that on the weekend. And as for the media, we love to, I suppose, wouldn't say we're precious. We definitely get targeted. I think Penrith got targeted for a long period of time. For a long time, they were the butt of every joke getting around with Gus's 5-year plan. Just dominance and success has pushed that aside. While you look at the Roosters and Storm, absolute media darlings, they're never going to cop anything. So hopefully they're blocking it out or embracing it and using it to their benefit. But I think that the fact that the matter is the Tigers are out of the comp, so we're the whipping boys. But yeah, all of the media hoopla is absolutely ridiculous. And I'll give a shout out to the Bloke in the Bar podcast. Have a listen to their episode yesterday, and they are talking was it Den Kemp and 2 others, talking about how ridiculous the entire thing is, whether it's Nico, whether it's bashing the Sharks. They just said, look, it's the whole thing is flawed and biased and agenda driven and everything that's wrong with rugby league media. And then when they talk about Nico, they say, you smash him last week for not being involved. And then if you got 2 involved this week, you turn around and say that he got overplayed his hand, got 2 involved yet. Yeah.
What about the rubbish of him, of just them analysing the semantics of a couple of choice of words that he used in the press conference? So his comment was, I'm not going to let 80 minutes define me as a human being. And
that's a great comment.
I think it's complete. Like, if you want to interpret that as a dumb comment, you can. Or if you want to interpret it as a brilliant comment, you can. Like, the guy has done a whole bunch of work and using his position in rugby league to forward a whole bunch of issues that he feels incredibly passionate about. Like, it shouldn't define him, but it's a big part of his life. So, they're just out for a headline. And I got to say, the Dave Riccio on NRL 360, he was good tonight. Phantom Realm comes through with that comment. But, Yeah, Matty, well, let's just move off that segment. Bugger it.
The man, Nico is the man in the arena. All the best to him. But yeah, don't mention the media. It's always going to happen. And if we lose this week, we're going to cop it. If we win this week, we're going to cop it. It's just a fact of life. Let's get the job done and move on.
All right, we move on indeed. Well, we've had our say on what the key taking points were. So now let's get our man on the ground or on his phone, really, to give us the laydown of what the word is in the world of socials.
Alrighty, mate. Sharks fans have come out in droves in support of Nico through the socials this week. He was still copping unwarranted negative attention in the media. We were hoping it was behind us after finally getting the finals monkey off our backs. However, Nico's still getting hammered in the press, even after his solid performance against the Cowboys last week. Certain journos are still taking aim at him through various outlets in what can I only assume is an attempt to derail our finals preparations. But there's also been quite a bit of support from across the high-profile podcasts. Willie Mason came out and supported Nico, stating he's just come back from major injury, would only be playing at about 75% capacity, and for people to lay off him. And the lads from, as Matty mentioned, from Bloke in the Bar, came out stating they can't believe the flack he's copping and that he had a great game against the Cows. So hopefully Nico can shut the haters up this weekend when we bury the Panthers. It appears Braden Trindle's going to test the open market come November 1, as per several reports. Tricky's contracted till the end of 2025. It's currently only on around $300,000 a season. He'll command considerably higher amount, and you'd think possibly double that, and deservedly so. He's playing some great footy, but especially on the back of that exceptional performance against the Cowboys last week, he admitted that he honestly thought he was going to be sacked earlier in the year after failing a roadside drug and alcohol test. However, the Sharks stuck by him. He's now repaying us with career best footy and at the right time of the season. I'd like to think he has unfinished business with the Sharks and that he repays the faith and loyalty the club showed him through his indiscretion this year by extending his stay with the club. So watch this space. Our NRLW squad went down in a close encounter to this year's Wooden Spooners in the West Tigers at PointsBet Stadium last Thursday night. The Tigers opened their scoring with a try to Claudia Nielsen whilst Holly Wheeler was in the bin, before Quincy Dodd crossed 5 out from half-time, which saw the girls go into the break 6-all. Tiana Penatani scored just after the break, and just before that, Tele Himes was also sent to the bin. With Brooke Talatiana scoring the 50th minute, the Tigers slotting both goals and closing out the game 12 points to 10, which saw the Sharks finish in 4th place and secure the last final spot. The girls go on to play Minor Premiers Brisbane at Totally Workwear Stadium in Brisbane at 2:05 p.m. this Sunday for a place in the grand final. The Newtown Jets.
With the sin bins,
sorry,
lads. I watched that game. They're unlucky with the sin bins, and
Oh yeah, mate.
To cop 2 sin bins.
Yeah.
And it's not like
and to only let one try in during those 2 binnings is
it's
testament
pretty tough
to their defence and how tough the girls are.
Look, the only way is up, and so let's go beat them fancied Roosters. Let's go, girls.
We're playing the Broncos, so I don't know if the Roosters get through, but anyway.
I thought it was going to be the Roosters. Well, what would I know?
The Broncos were the minor premiers, so the Roosters finished second.
I thought it was going to be the Roosters, but yeah, you're right. I guess that's right, because I was thinking that they would beat the Tigers and finish 3rd, and then they didn't.
Alrighty, mate. The Newtown Jets are off to another grand final after overcoming the 3rd place Canberra Raiders in a come-from-behind win at Leichhardt Oval last Saturday. The Jets will face off against rivals in this year's minor premiers, the North Sydney Bears, at Combank Stadium at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Canberra opened the scoring early through tries to Simi Sasangi and Hohepa Puru. Don't know if there's any relation to Niwai, but before Jaden Beryl crossed in the 23rd minute, which saw us go into the sheds at halftime down 12-6. Chris Vaya scored for the Jets just after the break, with Puru converting to bring the score to 12-all. Niwai Puru slotted a penalty goal in the 49th minute for a try to James Schiller in the 55th minute, which saw the Raiders jump to a 2-point lead. Niwai Puru then went on to nail 2 more penalty goals later in the half to secure the victory for the Blue Bags, which just goes to show how important taking the 2 is, Boldo.
Always take the 2, mate.
Alrighty, our Jersey Flegg scored a one-way win from Premiership glory after demolishing the minor premiers Canberra 38-18 at Leichhardt Oval last Saturday. It was the 10th consecutive win for the boys, who many had written off earlier in the season. Tries to Dixon, Waitare, Penatani, and a hat-trick to Taj Ford. Riley Pollard slotting 7 from 7 with a boot. After only securing a final spot in the final round of the regular season, the boys will take on the Bulldogs in the big dance at 11 a.m. this Sunday at Combank Stadium prior to the New South Wales Cup final. Will be a great day of footy, so be sure to get along to that. And finally, I came across this little beauty through the socials after the Cowboys game, then about 30 times per day since, and we've had it sent to us by everyone who follows the ET Stand podcast, comparing our crowd attendance to the AFL. And I'm like, hang on a minute, where have I seen that clown in the Pepsi jersey before? To my delight, upon zooming in, I discovered that it's none other than distinguished host of the ET Stand podcast, David Bolderman. And then that got me thinking about bandwagon Sharks supporters and how we need them to come out in droves against the Panthers this week, which, reminded me about this old chestnut that popped up in the socials many years before. So for all those listeners that don't have any imagery, there's a little post came up through the socials. Was it about 7 years ago, Boldo?
Yep, seven.
Of a very baby-faced Chris Kelly and David Bolderman on Sharks bandwagon cam.
Yeah, it was 2016, 2017, I think it came out, and that photo must be 2010. And then it was even made out to be made of a mug of that photo. Yeah, I was absolutely copping it. I'm like, God, you couldn't have picked two worse people to be bandwagon fans than Chris and me. That's for sure. Certainly very funny. We do need the bandwagon fans. Terrific update, lads.
There is plenty of room on that bandwagon, mate. And if we look, let's flood Accor Stadium on Saturday night, and who knows, if we get up, you and Chris Kelly might be taken and reclassified as real supporters.
All right, sounds good. All right. All right, let's hit through some of these comments that we've got through that has come through. Nathan Hunt's come through with a prediction of 14-12. Scotty McLaren is come through. G'day from Korea, Scotty. And remembering the Swans game was a grand final preliminary. 2.0's called out that this needs to be treated like a grand final, leave nothing in the bank. We have it in. It's just hoping we turn up with the right attitude. Scotty McLaren saying we also need to control the back three from Penrith in the 42-0 thrashing. They combined for 600 metres. Our whole team made 1,046. Well, hopefully the kicking game of Trindle comes through. Then we've got Chad Smith. Congratulations on your 28th wedding anniversary. So 28 years ago, that would have been, in the 1996 final series. So, Chad, you shouldn't have gotten married during the 1996 final series either, mate. What were you thinking? So this is just years of pain that you are now just going through. But from everyone at the ET Stand podcast, congratulations. But that's a terrible time to choose for a wedding, that's certainly sure. And then, the great Les Cheels through. If anyone can win this, it's the Shark. How many times have we won the impossible? Let's shut everyone up. Yeah, that would be terrific. Les, indeed. And then Chad Smith's come through in the comments confirming that the Puru boys are brothers.
There we go.
Yep.
And then Phantom Realm, we're going to come back to your comment during the women's segment that we'll do later. And then Denny 180 is saying, I love this era's playing group, even though we're not as renowned as 2016 eras. We are bigger underdogs than the 2016 team, although I believe that works out to be more special if we can pull it off. Well, speaking of eras, let's now add in the next history segment, which is my dear friend Matthew is going to take us through a list of his top five. Top five we saw on the weekend. Braden Trindle was absolutely brilliant in that finals performance. And had us thinking back, well, has there been a better individual performance from a Sharks player in a finals match? Well, if only we all had access to great historians and knowledgeable people like the great Matthew Williams, that is now going to take us through his top five most notable Sharks player finals performances.
Thanks, David. So Trindle had a ripper in a big game. So whilst our finals record isn't as illustrious, plentiful or varied as that of many other clubs, there are still many matches and showings to reminisce. We've had many great team performances, but what about those individual performances? Those times when one player stood head and shoulders above the rest. As tempting as it is to give Ben Pomeroy's performance and try in the 2013 win over the Cowboys in week one of the finals I mentioned, it doesn't quite meet that mark. But there are some notables, some honourable mentions like Paul Green with his double versus the Magpies in week one of 1996, Preston and Adam Dykes in 2001 in each of those 3 weeks until We won't mention the prelim. Jack Bird versus South in 2015. I'll put Michael Ennis in there too and a few others. Surprise packets like Matt Bickerstaff and Greg Bird in week 2 of the finals versus the Dragons in 2002. And Kurt Capewell out of nowhere when the chips were down in week 1 in Canberra in 2016. Plenty of hat tricks have occurred over this time and they're worth a mention too. So I'm going to stretch out of the regular competition, go the Amco Cup final of 1979. The late, great Gary Cameron, a 5'8", who passed away earlier this year. He was a hat-trick hero in that match. The first player in Sharks colours to score a hat-trick in a big match. The next one was Paul Mellor with a hat-trick in finals week 1 at home, a win over the Broncos in 2001. Matt Reek in a loss to the Roosters in finals week 1 of 2002. And Missy Talapapa on the wing in a win over the Raiders in 2008. So here we go to the list of the best individual performances. You'll see there's a few caveats around this, and I'll have to admit that most of them were before my time. So thank you, David, for your assistance there. Thank you for a few others that provided some input as well on that. I had to do a fair bit of research on these ones. So they are ones from, let's say, late 80s and earlier, with a big asterisk around that towards the end. But you'll see that in a sec. So number 1, we have ET in the 1989 playoff versus the Broncos. So we had a playoff for 5th place. ET scored a try. He was absolutely electric. Unfortunately, that's a picture from a playing card from his finals week 1. So the following week performance against the Raiders where we lost. But ET scored a try. He was electric, set up several others, was just lightning quick, convincing win over essentially a state of origin side to get us into the finals there. So great stuff from ET. I'll throw to you guys in a sec to cover your memories of that period. Number 2, Gavin Miller. You can probably cover that whole period of 88, 89. He was just all the highlights I've seen. You guys lived it, but how good he was at putting players through holes, how much of a beating he suffered. But as a ball-playing lock, he is just untouched, unparalleled in his time, and really stood up in those big matches, including getting a try in that also in that playoff against the Broncos in 1989. Moving on to back into the 78 final series. So Steve Rogers, I've got some stats here. He was at peak of his powers, playing for Australia on the Kangaroo Tours and the like, and absolutely carving up. So finals week 1, the major prelim semi-final versus the Manly Seagulls. We won 17 points to 14. He scored a try and kicked 4 goals. He would then score 4 goals in the preliminary final win over the Magpies that got us into the grand final, and then he kicked 4 from 4 in the 11-all draw. Absolutely vital to that side, and he had been playing in the final series back in 73 prior to that as well. But peak of his powers, just electric with the ball and lethal with the boot with the older toe-poking style. Moving on to Tommy Bishop, the 1973 grand final, the most brutal of all time. I'll throw just a shout out to Bishop for his entire short career with the club, but also that 73 final series. So our very first finals match was against the Dragons. We won 18-0. It was Tommy Bishop and Ken Madison who scored tries that day. And Tommy Bishop kicked a field goal in the prelim final win over the Newtown Jets to make the grand final. And then knowing that they didn't have the, let's say, skill to match it with Bob Fulton and his Manly side, he absolutely captain coach. He organised the strategy, was behind all of the, let's say, the roughhousing, but also had that finesse as well to move the team around the paddock. And it was a very tight loss in the end by only 3 points. So despite that's the only caveat being a losing side there, he was unbelievable. And unfortunately, due to financial issues with the club, was unable to be re-signed at the end of that year, which is a tragedy to this day. Fun fact though, leaving the 2016 grand final top of our bay at the southern end after we'd seen the team do the lap and all that, Tommy Bishop was standing there, and I gave him a high five, which was great to see. So he's getting on now, but absolute legend of our side. But moving on, you're probably thinking, hey, there's a few more players in here from 2016. How are you going to fit them all in? Yes, I broke some rules. So week 1 was Matt Pryor. Week 3 was James Maloney, and week 4, Lewis won the Clive, but Fafita won there. Made history, those 3 there, and that's the trilogy. And I think that they're all a chicken or egg thing, especially Maloney. I think it was a good team performance and a great win against the Cowboys. Whether I'd pick one between Pryor and Maloney, Pryor and Fafita, I think you can't have one without the other. If Pryor doesn't step up in that match against Canberra and score that try just before half time, we don't go through. And Fafita doesn't have the opportunity to win the grand final for us. So that's why all 3 tied there. But if I was going to order them, I'd say Pryor/Fafita number 1, and Maloney a very close number 2. So they're my standouts. I'll throw to you guys. Boldo, probably you first. Any of those?
Man, that list was absolutely incredible. God, that was so much fun just thinking about that. I'd probably say Adam Dykes in that 2001, our best ever finals. I might have found a spot for Adam Dykes. Would have been mine.
I'll finish with you, Francis. I'll just hold there. Lats, any of those stick out to you, or any others you want to shout out?
Yeah, mate. We got down to one slot left, and I thought I was going to go Maloney or Fafita 2016, and you gazumped me on both, mate. But Fafita,
yeah, I broke the rules there. Yeah,
Fafita, what a try, what a moment. Should have been the medalist, but we won't go into that. I thought Maloney, and he was great in that prelim final against the Cowboys, bagging a double. And I thought honourable mentions to Wade Graham and Luke Lewis over that final series also in 2016.
Yeah. I mean, to win those big matches, you need plenty of players to stand up. But I'll throw to you, Francis. Obviously, I mentioned a few sides that you were involved with back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Do you have any memories of anyone particular from that era, or all these other ones I've mentioned?
Oh, just the ones you've mentioned. My pick for my memory and fantastic thrills and day that I'll never forget was Fafita's try, being out there. And I acknowledge what you said. We couldn't have got there without beating Canberra. But Fafita's effort was just spectacular, and I'll never forget it. But in the day back when I was working with the team, I thought Steve Rogers' son Matty was a standout, an awesome attacker. I think might have been towards the end of the season game at Newcastle. He tore the team apart. He was doing the burst down the wing and the inside kick, and had ET and Peachy and Preston all sort of chasing the balls and often getting tries off those inside kicks. And we're seeing a lot of that back in the footy now. It's quite exciting. So, I think you'd have Matty Rogers up there. He's an awesome person to have in your team. Such a lovely fellow and a fantastic player. Yeah.
Yeah, and a quick preview before my Chronicles episode this week, which will be the prelim final win over the Raiders in Super League 1997. Looking at that, Matt Rogers was outstanding in that final series as well. So great with the boot, great with the ball. Ray Warren said that he could not remember a better wing centre pairing as ET and Rogers. That they were completely synchronised at all times and were flawless with the ball. And you could see that basically every time they touched it, something was going to happen. And Matt Rogers especially, he was great. Obviously goal kicking. He himself has said that kicking the Gilbert ball was a lot better than kicking the Steeden ball. So his kicking percentage was a lot higher that year. And it was the first player in Australian rugby league to use a kicking tee rather than sand, but also two with the ball in hand. Very, very good, ahead of his time as a lethal winger. Anyway, that was fun, guys.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, well, good fun. All right, well, let's get straight into the match versus the Panthers and the team list, really. Now, I've just realised that I may not have set up the pages correctly, so let's just get into this team list here and see if I've got a view that lets us do that. There we go. It looks like it's just you and me chatting through the team list for the time being. I think can we still hear you, Lats, Williams and Francis? Can we hear you?
Maybe. Can you hear me?
All right, we can.
We've got him.
Yeah, I've plugged the cameras up, so we're just going to have to go with this format for the time being, and I'll edit it whilst you guys are talking. Actually, Lats, why don't you run everyone through the team that's been named this week, and I'll fix up the screen.
All righty. An unchanged team this week with Will Kennedy at the back, wingers Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulatalo. In the centres, Jesse Ramey and Cale Iro. At 6, Braden Trindle. Nico Hines at 7. Toby Rudolph at 8. Brayley at hooker. Big Oregon Kafusi at 10. Britton Nakora and Teague Wilton in the second row. Cam McInnes at lock. Talakai Williams, Hunt and Hazelton Wood on the bench. And the coach is Craig Fitzgibbon.
What do we make of that team, Francis?
Yeah, strong team. Happy to say the fellows carrying injuries seem to play very well last game, and no reports of any aggravation. So I think they'll play stronger than last week. And that goes for Nico, for Hazo, and for
Ramian.
Ronnie.
Yeah, Ramian. Yeah, they're just going to be better again. They'll have a few days rest and recovery, and then they'll have fine tuning of their skills. Maybe a heavy defence session. I think I'm feeling really confident. As confident as we can.
The moon boot that Ramian's been cited that he's wearing now, why does he do that in between matches? What does that do for him?
I don't know the full extent of his injury, but usually after playing, there's going to be a flare-up of an injury that you're carrying. So a flare-up can give you some increased swelling, a little bit of pain, and to quickly settle that down, some immobilisation in a moon boot for the time of the day that you're on your feet will help that settle down really quickly. So it's precautionary and a good step in an active rehab for the week. Yeah, it doesn't make me nervous. Doesn't make me nervous that it's serious. Yeah.
I saw a comment from Jesse in a written article yesterday saying that they were using the moon boot to lessen the load. That he felt like he could play again tomorrow if he needed to, and he'd be back running Thursday and then captain's run Friday. So, yeah.
So what do we make of this bench now with this forward rotation with Talakai playing 16 minutes and Royce Hunt coming on for, what was it, 23 or whatever it was? Maddie, what's your take on that setup now and the way that this squad's being called out?
I wonder if there was a strategy change. So Talakai, he's been carrying an injury. I'm not sure what, but there's been a lot of talk about him carrying an injury and limiting his minutes, but also being able to cover Ramian if required. So I'm not sure if that was maybe something tactically that once we got 18-24-0 up that Fitzgibbon changed his plan. We saw there was obviously a strategy behind it too, with the forwards basically not taking any carries in the first 10 minutes, probably an attempt to lessen their load. I don't think we can do that this week. We need to be all guns blazing from the get-go. And then, I didn't exactly look at the exact timings of the rotations and the exact minutes, but it did seem like Kaufusi and Rudolph were doing a lot more. So hopefully this week it's a bit more balanced because we're going to need to optimize that. We can't have the lulls like we did in the second half the other day, where we went about a 10-minute period from the 50th to 60th minutes where we were really looking out of sorts. Having said that, I thought Ramian provided so much with the ball, just carrying out of our own end, let alone as an attacking threat. He saved our sets several times when it looked like we weren't going very far. And another thing, also just on a side point with it, loved the eyes up kicking from Trindle, especially early on in the match. I haven't watched the full replay yet. I've just been way too busy, but I'm looking forward to doing that hopefully later tonight or tomorrow. I remember live seeing Trindle kicking on the 4th and almost getting a 40-20. Didn't get the bounce, didn't get the positioning right, but it turned. We were going nowhere, and then it just turned. And looking live against Parramatta early in the year when we were flat, it's going to happen again this week when Penrith get up and in our face. We need to look for those opportunities to, when the wingers are up, just try and turn the tide a bit, or even better, find touch, even if it's not a 40-20, and just try and get that defensive line set and get ourselves out of it. Because Penrith, last time we played them, they absolutely strangled the life out of us, and we couldn't get out of our own end. So we need to find ways to avoid that.
Lats, is this the strongest team we've got?
Yeah, mate, this is the strongest team we've fielded all year. As Francis alluded to, they're getting through their injuries well. They probably haven't even been playing at 100%. You've seen Ronnie's knee strapped up. He got through, surprisingly, Jesse got through so well last week. Nico's still, getting his match fitness up after having so long out of the game. And I actually like the fact that we're playing Penrith after them having a week off. I think they were going into that Roosters game. They didn't look at their best. And I think with Cleary just coming back into the side fresh, I think momentum, they would have preferred momentum and picked up, just rolled on and tried to build their game. They haven't been able to do that, having the week off, and I think we'll be better for the run last week, and I think we're a massive chance. I think our forwards, we're stronger than them in the forwards. I think that's where we have to get them. Hopefully Gow comes out and has another crack at our boys, because that really got them to stand up. And we've just really got to watch their back line. They're crazy good, and but we can match them. I think we're good.
I actually reckon the other way around. I actually reckon we're strong in the backs and their forwards with Fisher Harris and then Leota and the like. Was it Leota or whoever else? Yeah,
Leo Ryan, wasn't he like a winger for Parramatta in the 1990s?
Yeah, Leota, right? No, Moses Leota. I was like, who's the guy that went to the Roosters? No, it was Leota still there. So they're props there. We'll go through their team in a sec, but I think that they've got
read through the team, Matty. You may as well take it away.
Yeah, righto. So Dylan Edwards, the fullback, the wingers, Taruva and the centres, Tungo and Alamotti, the halves, Luai Cleary, and the front row of Leota, Kenny, Fisher Harris, the back row of Luke Garner, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yo. Yo's playing, I think he's breaking the record for most caps as a Penrith captain, so it's a bit of a milestone for them on that regard. The bench, we've got Brad Schneider, spelled there Schmeira. It should be Brad Schneider. Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry.
I reckon I typed that in.
Matt Eisenhuth, the coach, is Ivan Cleary. So, as I was saying, I think that we've got To'o is very good. Edwards is best fullback in the competition, but I think that Ramian, Iro, this is just but what I've seen. I don't know if I'm going barking up the wrong tree here, but if one-on-one situations and looking at what some Penrith fans have said in their forums, they're worried about their centre defence, the defensive decisions by their centres and sometimes their wingers, whereas their forward pack is just dynamite, and that's even with all the players they've lost over the last few years through salary cap squeeze. So, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.
I was trying to hint to you to read Fan and Realm's comment there, Matty.
I can
make that. I was trying to hint to you to work that in.
I will. So he was saying, extending to my comment before, got in Phantom Realm that, and I think you said that before then, so maybe I stole your comment, but Ramian is out. We do struggle with yardage sets, especially that play 2 and 3 coming out of our own end. So glad he's back, very much so. I'll give a shout out to Sione Katoa as well. I thought he had some really tough carries the other night, and had a few good opportunities where he hit and spun and made that ground and got that slightly faster play the ball to get the set going. But Ramian just did not fail the other night with those carries. The flip side of Kale Iro was fantastic, except for those 2 1-on-1 steals. And get better studs, dude. I've been saying it since he came into first grade. He's falling over all the time. I'm not sure if he's got a touch of the Kurt Capels about him, but yes, Kale Iro, tie that ball up and keep your feet. And all of a sudden, I think we're a chance.
Paul's come through with the comment saying we have the better centres and the better bench with Mike Knight then backing him up. Lats, I see you nodding. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, mate. I think our bench is way better than theirs. That's what I was getting to sort of with the forwards. I think we've got more impact off the bench. And, I just think I can just see them tiring. We've got a good young pack, and we bring the intensity. Toby Rudolph's back to his best. All our players they're growing every week, and I just think we can match them. I honestly think we'll get them. You've got Jerome Luai in his last ever finals appearance of his career. The chin Nathan Cleary. If we can send Nikorima and Teague at them, Teague's back to his best. I think he's playing some really good football, especially last week. And I think we'll get him. I really do. I think it'll be close, but I think we'll get him. I'm going Sharks in a golden point thriller.
Oh, we're doing the tips after that, but all right, we'll hold off on the tips. I do get your tips in. There you go. There's the spoiler first. Lats is picking a golden point win for the Sharks. Do you get your comments in? Francis, last comment on the team list before we get Matty to talk up the history of us versus the Panthers.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an obvious, or not so obvious point that we could use as part of our plan is, I think our wingers are dynamic in the air and taking bombs, and their wingers are traditionally a little bit shorter than ours and not as good in the air. But in saying that, many clubs through the season have tried to target that with not as great success as you would have thought. But I think that's a possibility to see Ronnie flying through the air and either taking the ball and scoring or batting it back to a player and one of our players and scoring. So that'll be interesting to see. The only other thing I'd have to say is that, getting a battering in social media, I love the way our teams handle it. I think it galvanizes them together to say, well, bugger you, we're going to prove you wrong. And through that adversity of pressure, hopefully, they can, as you say, get out and show them that we're better than what you say we are. So, I'm with you, Lats. I think we've got a really good chance. We have to play to our best. And a lot of the comments about, getting the ball out, getting the line set, controlling the centres and not letting them get a roll on, I think we're a really good chance. So we're certainly not favourites, but being the underdogs, we often do well. So I'm going for a Sharks win. I'll wait till we do the predictions to say my score.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, let's see if Matthew Williams talking us through the recent form of the Sharks versus the Panthers convinces us that we're any more of a chance of winning after we go through this. All over to you, Matty.
Slight tangent. So I'm just going to flesh out something I mentioned before and expand on Francis' comment there in that stuff the media and stuff all the attention. I think someone needs to go and print out and give to Nico or the team the Man in the Arena speech by Theodore Roosevelt. I accidentally said Abraham Lincoln before, but anyway, it's the opening line is not the critic who counts and carries on from there. It is very good. But anyway, play your own game, guys. Looking at the form, we've played them 100 times. This is the 101st, so we're not going to talk milestone matches. We have won 52. They've won 45. We've played them in one final. That was in 2018. We won 21 points to 20 at Chad Townsend field goal after we had a big halftime lead that was whittled away in the second half. That was in finals week 2 at the old Allianz Stadium. But recent histories where it's at, we haven't beaten them much lately. The last time we beat them was in Origin period 2021 at Cogra, where we won 19 points to 18 with, I think it was a Sean Johnson field goal. Prior to that, the last time we beat them was 2019, the Easter weekend, which was Will Kennedy's debut. We were down 20 points to 6. We came back in the second half. Bronson's Sherry scored that try where Josh Dugan may have tripped over. I think it was DWZ and Chase. But we won that one 24 points to 20. Then we had a pretty good win prior to that. So from that game in 2019, we hadn't lost to them since 2015. And that was only one loss, and we hadn't lost them since 2012. So we basically had only one loss over an 8-year period there. So I think it's obviously form has changed lately in the Penrith has been absolutely dominant. They are not only a generational team, but one of the best teams of all time. I think salary cap era, obviously they're trying to get in their 5th grand final, trying to win 4 in a row. Back in 2016, we were obviously going well during that period. The Gus 5-year plan, everyone was laughing. We were beating Penrith every time, including one win that I'm just going to give a shout out to. We beat them 28-2 at Penrith Easter weekend 2017. The Panthers were raging hot favourites. Everyone was talking about how they turned the corner, and we basically had our premiership side minus Barber and minus it was Ennis. And we absolutely towered them up that day. So I'm hoping that this is not an omen for that, in that we're thinking that we're a chance and then they give us a sniff. So the old adage of never believe is there, but we've literally got nothing to lose. They have held us to nil the last 2 times we played them. And also they beat us 42-0 at Shark Park this year. We need to learn a lot out of that. Both of us have very different sides, including very different forward packs. But yeah, we won't talk any further about that. They beat us 28-0 last year. One game I will focus on, though, is 2022. We were up 10-0 early. We lost the game 20 points to 10 at Penrith Park. We had a horrible completion rate, and we should have beaten them that night. Our style that night didn't gel well with them, and I remember Luai was getting very frustrated. So they've got the tendency, if we take it to them, throw everything at them, they've got the tendency to lose their heads a little bit, and I'm hoping that occurs this week. But anyway, that's the history. I won't go into for and against tonight, Jazz. It just win, guys. We haven't scored a point against them since I think it was a Matt Moylan or Jesse Ramian try in 2022. So hopefully we get a point, and then we go from there.
Oh, we're talking up Matt Moylan tries. All right, that's an excellent history segment there, Matty. All right, let's just hit through some of these comments. Les Cheels saying that he thinks Hoyt and Hunt could be the difference. He's so big, just needs to leave nothing in the sheds. I definitely agree with you there, Les. Andros has asked us, great show, gents. Did anyone else notice that Nico appeared to play quite a bit of hooker in the last game against the Cows? Did you boys notice that? Reckon it was a tactic by Coach Fitz. Pretty sure they have Nico takes the dummy half passes on tackle 1 or tackle 2, whilst Brayley's coming back into position to give Brayley a rest. And that's
Correct.
the sort of tactic. We've seen them do that before so that they can give old Blake Brayley a rest. So we get an 80 minutes out of him. Yeah. Williams 2.0 has said, if we're going to win 21-20, Nico kicks the field goal to shut the haters up. And then Les has then said, come on, Lats, my heart. You're going to give me can't do golden point. You give me a heart attack.
Want to be a remote control in Les's house if it goes to
no. And then Mike Knight, is everyone going to the game? I'm going with the missus and the youngest. I can confirm that this is the podcast of ET Stand people who are all going to the game, Mike Knight. So if anyone is there and sees any of us, please do come over and give us a high five. And Sonia Quigley saying Sharks by 10, combination sweet and sour cat for everyone. All right, look, I am not going to do a tip now. I'm going to save that for just a couple of hours before kickoff. I'm going to do just a final preview video and just summarize what I can learn from my dear learned friends. So Lats, reiterating, you were 1 point. Is that right?
Yeah, 1 point, mate. So I'll take 2 if Nico can kick that far. It's yeah. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I liked what I saw in regards to how Penrith beat the Roosters. It wasn't that comfortable in the end. They're still a bit clunky. Cleary's not 100%, and we're just getting stronger. And I think we can roll them.
Francis?
I think 2.0 is actually right. I think this is our grand final this week, and I think we can go into the grand final and play a similar tactic to what we did against the Cowboys last week, but this has to be next level and something different.
Yeah. I'm all for the Sharks, David. I think it'll be a relatively low-scoring game, 12-8, 16-10 our way. Be a hard, tight grind. We've just got to play to our best. Nothing in the tank, as we've already said. Yes, I think we can win, but I think it'll be close.
Maddie?
I'm definitely not tipping against as finals. If you don't believe, well, we say never believe, right? But if you don't think we've got a hope, then what's the point? Yes, they are heavy favourites. They should be shorter. Jimmy Smith on SEN this afternoon was saying, take it to the bank. It's better than anything you're going to get. Penrith $1.25, put the house on it. We'd all like to shut people like him up, so we shouldn't be giving them airtime. But they're right. Like, I think that Penrith genuinely a 90% plus chance of winning with everything that they've got. If we play to our potential and start, well, the start is everything. The Roosters game showed us. If we miss the start, the game can be all over in the first 10 minutes. But if we hold on there, especially if we hold on till the first 20, 25 and we get our bench on, that's when our chances improve. And we had that against the Cowboys the other night. I'm going to say Sharks by 6. I actually think, despite the wet, I think there will be some points. I think it'll be something like 22-16 or 20-14.
Mike Knight's come through in the comments saying, I want to see us win in the final minutes with Hazleton converting at full time. What? Because we're up by 16 points. And so there with a minute to go and he scores a try and then just kicked, is it? So that's probably right. All right. Well, look, there's some excellent tips. I'm just going to try and take in everything that you guys have said, take in all the tips from everyone in the comments section, and then take in the video that Franco and Kelly are going to put out on Thursday and with their special live episode of the ET Stand. First ever Thursday night episode for the ET Stand. All right, let's get into it. Everything else, look, there's a lot of stuff happening for the Sharks everywhere else, really. So this is going to take us a while. Normally our end of show segments can be pretty quick. But we've got all of our other teams in finals or grand finals. Maddie, however, the NRLW team didn't have had a classic Cronulla personified, to steal your saying from you. NRLW, what's your take?
So obviously disappointing to go into the finals 3 in a row losing. So it sounds very similar to 2016. I think unfortunately we've had key injuries at key times, and notwithstanding that loss of Jada Taylor at fullback straight off the bat. That was a massive out for them to try and cover, and a few other injuries there. See Tonegado named at fullback. There's a comment earlier on, if you want to find it, David, talking about is our attack clunky with Tonegado there. It certainly looked that way It did look that way the other night. Hopefully, though, we did cause Brisbane trouble a few weeks ago, and we should have won that.
Should have won that.
Yeah, so Quincy Todd would definitely like a time back with that kick. And what happened from there, I think they're unfortunately huge out this week in that we are missing Holly Wheeler, who has been suspended. So one of the players there's looking at Phantom Realms comment saying, just on the women's team, do you think it's coincidence as soon as they change Emma back to fullback that our attack has been clunky and been the reason for the poor end of season? Maybe something to do with it. I think it's something they've needed to do, though. She has played a fair bit of fullback in her time. And it is hard adjusting, especially we see it in the first grade team, whether you've got a ball running or a ball playing fullback, you'd argue she's a bit of both. Whereas Jada Taylor, pardon my ignorance, but for when I saw her start of the year was very much a ball running fullback. So big, huge challenge this week against Brisbane. We wanted to get to the dance floor. We have, finishing 4th versus finishing 1st. It's not at home. It's not ideal. Huge out in the forwards, but I think they can do it. The other night, you're right, David, 2 sin bins against the Tigers too. I thought they actually didn't play terribly. They did well in defence. They were unlucky at that try disallowed that was given initially. That ended up being held up late on. And the Tigers, they've won 2 in a row, so they're playing better than their position on the table would indicate. But yeah, it's a lot's gone against the girls this year. It's been a successful season, I'd say, definitely compared to last year. But it's going to be really tough this week if they win. This is their grand final as well. I think if they win, yeah, they'd probably go up against the Roosters, who we saw how they went a few weeks ago. But anything's possible.
That's right. All right. Paul's come through in the comments saying if anyone's interested, both the Jersey Flag and the New South Wales Cup Grand Finals are both live on the 9 Now app. Look, Francis, I reckon you watch more of the Flag team than most of us. So what's your take?
Oh, the Flag should be really proud of themselves. Many wins on a row, as Lats referred to earlier before, but the style of their play has been awesome. And on Saturday against Canberra, who were the minor premiers, they defended 3 sets on their line at least twice, and they had quite a few decisions go against them. Their defence was awesome. And then their forwards, Canberra forwards were massive and came out with that strong, 10 or 15, 20 minutes of very aggressive running, and we held them and then we pushed them back. And our backs were the team's playing with confidence. Just forgotten the halfback's name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, it'll come to me. He's been Pollard. Was Riley Pollard?
Pollard. He's been getting the ball out. Great ball. And then Michael Gabriel's just been drawing men and getting the ball out to the outside, and they've been making long-reaching tries. It's been fantastic to watch. I think I'm really confident. We played Canberra. Canterbury, who we're playing in the grand final, twice. We got towed up a little bit in the first one, I think 30-6 or 30-10. Second game was very, very close. We were leading most of the game, and Canterbury came back, drew, and then won with a field goal. And both of those games we weren't playing as well. And we've, similar to our first grade side, we've probably got our strongest side, playing. They're not hampered by too many injuries, and they're on a roll. So I'm, feeling really positive. There's a bit of history to it. 30 years ago, 1994, under 21s and reserve grade won the grand finals.
Of course.
So Great Whites weekend a couple of weeks back, we had a 30-year reunion of that group, which I was happy to be involved in. It was a great time. And just on the social chat within that 94 group, it was mentioned this could be a little bit more history. So hopefully, we can get all 4 up. That'd be awesome. Yeah. That's my take. Very confident. Yeah.
That would be amazing. Lats, can the Jets win?
Mate, the Jets will win. It's without question. And I'm glad I don't see any North Sydney Bears jersey behind you on your display wear, Boldo, because I would have been throwing all types of insults. But no, look, we've got a strong team. We beat Canberra, who finished third in a seesawing affair. Canberra weren't without their stars. They had Schiller, Chevy Stewart, Woodford, Wolford. Mate, look at our team though. Look at the guys that have stepped in to first grade for us and stood up. The amount of stars that the Jets have in that team, they should, I think they'll win comfortably. They've got we've knocked the Bears once this year. They've got us twice in very close affairs. We'd win on aggregate if you put them together. But I think we'll win it. And who else would you want on your team other than Billy Magoulias to kick the final chip and chase to the victory?
Billy Magoulias is still one of the great chip and chase players in it. So the Jets match is what time?
It was 3 p.m, I believe. 3 p.m. on Sunday at Combank.
And the women's are 2 p.m.
So that means
2:05 p.m.
Bigger at 11. Yeah.
So does that mean if Atkinson's not used, he could play or he's out?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to check the eligibility. He may have played too many first grade games.
Or does that also knock him out? All right, fair enough. All right, well, you know what we're going to do? Franco, can you answer that question for us on Thursday night show? And we'll get to the answer on that one. All righty. We'll get close to wrapping up the show. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Les Shields come through a little bit late saying Riley Pollard. And then,
thanks, Les.
Yeah, and then Les has also come through saying, I'm showing my age. I've been to every girls' home game. And Beidel and Penatani, the best centre combination since ET and Sparkles. That's a big call. Harley, g'day. Up the Sharkies. And then Paul's come through in the answers saying he's ineligible. Thank you, Paul. I reckon you might be.
Paul's right across that New South Wales Cup stuff, isn't he?
Paul's just a legend.
He's a big fan of the Jets, you can tell.
And he's a big fan of Franco's, Paul.
And a big fan of Talakai and the Senators.
Love you, Paul. All right.
You're a legend,
Jeff,
Paul.
we do enjoy Paul's carry on. Now,
Well, one more comment there from Glenn Thompson as well.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to him in a second. So I'm just wrapping up. Well, Tomo, we'll come back to you. So there's a Cronulla Sharks Discord channel, which is a place for Sharks fans to get on and chat live during games. The link's there in the comments. Lats, I'm giving you this time so you can work out who the winning comment is. And then, yes, Glenn Thompson is here through the comments. Fire up, Sharkies. Dare to dream. Hit the line hard, quick. Hit the line hard. Quick play the balls. Defense, defense, defense. Short passes. Strong kick chase. Never stop. Everyone needs to be switched on. I think that is pretty good advice there, Tomo. Latsy,
Need some
you
sweet
were
justice.
and some sweet and fair justice indeed. Lats, you were on comment patrol tonight. So just a reminder, the best comment for all of our shows in every show between now and the end of the season goes in the draw to win a lovely displayware.com.au unit like I've got here. Lats, who are you giving the comment to?
Mate, it was a toss-up between Chad Smith, whose wedding anniversary it is. I've just got a question for Chad, actually. Mate, who have you supported longer, your wife or the Sharks? You do the math and let us know. But I know who I'd be going with. And I'm going to give it to Paul, mate, for letting us know. I did not know that those games were on the 9 Now app.
That one? Or that one. There we go.
Yes.
Paul.
Very informative, and I appreciate the comment.
All right, love it. Good work, Paul. All right, mate, you are the best commenter this week. Francis, anything from you before we get out of it?
No, let's see you at the game.
Just see you at the game. All right. That was the ET Stand podcast. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the like and subscribe button. We're trying to somehow miraculously get to 500 YouTube subscribers is the crazy goal by the end of the season. Maybe if we win the grand final, we can do that. We will be live on Thursday night with a special show. So the great Stephen Franklin and Chris Kelly are doing an additional Thursday night live show because we're in the final series, and why the hell not? Matty Williams is going to be out with a Chronicles video sometime in the next 36 hours, I reckon, with 1997 Super League. I'm going to do a preview right before the match on Saturday, and then Franco and I will do a debrief straight after the game. It's full time on Saturday night. One of my brothers lives next door to Olympic Park, so I can confirm that one will be straight after the game. So thank you, everyone, Sharks fans, for getting involved in tonight's show. The wonderful privilege being involved in the Cronulla Sharks, and hopefully, just hopefully, maybe the Sharks can pull off a victory for us this weekend. That was the ET Stand. We will see you guys next time. Up, Cronulla.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite-level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.